welcome back to MTD CNC North America, the world's most popular news channel for engineering and manufacturing. And today I have the great pleasure to spend time with my buddy Dave. And as you can see, we are going to talk Matsuura. Yes, the machines with precision, reliability, lights out capabilities, automation capabilities, everything that you love about these beautiful blue machines, we're going to talk a little bit more about. Dave, thank you so much for being a part of MTD.
Oh, thank you, Tony, for being here with us here at Productivity, and appreciate it.
Oh, I mean, you're always a pleasure. You're easy to talk to. Productivity, what a great company.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about what we're doing here, what we're showcasing. We have robots on a machine over in another hall. We have these two that we're looking at right now. Obviously, the MAM is one of the most world famous machines. So let's talk a little bit about what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So here on display is the MAM 7252V. This is the latest rendition of our MAM series machines. So we've been building MAM machines, which MAM stands for Matsuura Automated Manufacturing. The 72 represents 72 hours of unattended operation. And then, of course, in this case, the 52 is 520 millimeter work envelope and a vertical spindle. And so this is our latest and greatest. And we have it on display, as well as an MX850. So a little bit more simple automation, but a larger work envelope on that machine.
Well, I'm walking around here today, and I've overheard a lot of people talking, especially after your presentation, which was great. And something that stuck out to me, which was really interesting, was I'm no longer throwing spindles at work. I'm no longer throwing people at work. I want my average thing to be, I want one person for 5 machines, and all 5 of those machines can stay running. Now, how does Matsuura help with that 24/7 lights out running and this magnificent pallet chain system?
Yeah, correct. So this MAM 7252V has 15 pallets standard. This model has 330 tools, up to 530 tools. And so what we do is we optimize your overall equipment effectiveness, the OEE. Basically, if you were to simplify it down, it's your spindle utilization, right? So we want to keep that spindle in a cut for as maximum amount of the available time as we can. And so with a system like this, it both runs unattended while you're here, right? So you can load and unload raw material while the machine is running, and also you can leave this machine to run unattended at night and maximize that return on investment.
I heard a rumor one time that the average run time is 40% of machine spindle time running, right? But with this machine, that door behind you, you can actually load and unload pallets to make sure this thing is almost always running.
Correct. So we're going to get to 80 or 90% of the 24-hour day. You have to consider that there's some planned downtime. So you might plan, your available time of the day might be 22 hours, 20 hours, depending on the nature of your work. But we're going to maximize that efficiency, though. So this machine is running all of that time. And the evidence of the success of this is, as you said earlier, you go back to just 2005, 25% of our business was a 5-axis machine. You go to today, we're over 70% of all of our business is 5-axis. And of those machines, 70% or greater of those have a pallet system from the factory. So this is industry driven. This is the demand to be able to run this machine at maximum efficiency.
The part that we glazed over that I think is extremely important to understand is how many tools we have, because you cannot run a machine with 15 pallets, 4 pallets,
right.
42 pallets, 25
right.
pallets, 35, whatever it might be, with a limited amount of tool holders.
Yeah.
And how many are on this machine?
Well, this machine has 330 tool holders. But let me back up a minute and address that, because that's a big question. And so the design philosophy of this machine is that it can run 72 hours unattended. So now, what's the deciding factor is going to be the work envelope of this machine and what the average cycle time might be. So the smaller the work envelope, potentially the shorter the cycle time is, and so the more pallets that you're going to need. So the little brother of this machine, the MAM 7235V, is going to have 32 pallets, 330 up to 530 tools. The work envelope of this machine, we've got 15 pallets, 330 up to 530 tools. And then as we go bigger into the 70V machine, then you're looking at 18 pallets. When you get all the way up into a 1 meter horizontal, we have a MAM 72 100H, 2 pallets you may have such a long cycle time that 2 pallets would run unattended overnight or even through the weekend. So it's about matching the correct number of pallets to the correct number of tools for the number of part numbers that you want to run. So you've got to analyze the total number of part numbers that you want to run, The one misconception about palletized machines is that we're going to run a large volume of parts. We're not. It's going to be a lower volume, high mix of part numbers. So we're going to need a lot of tools in the machine to be able to have the variety of parts that we want. We're also going to run unattended, which means that we need to have redundant tools. We need to have broken tool detection, tool life management, and we need to be able to have redundant tools to go and switch a tool when we know that its lifespan is nearing its end.
Let's talk a little bit about precision, Dave. Now, when we talk about precision, initially we think XYZ. You know, we got a couple of points. This is what we're working on.
Right.
But when we get into the world of 5-axis machining, now we're talking about how it expands at all angles, right? And you've used certain types of terms that I'm going to let you take over and discuss.
Sure.
But now we're talking about all different angles and how to keep these tolerances within tenths or microns at this point, right?
Yes, absolutely. So backing up a little, the advantage of a 5-axis machine is I don't have to let go of the part. Right? I can hold the part once and I can get to many different sides of that part. The advantage is the part's going to be more accurate if the machine to begin with is more accurate, right? So when you talk about accuracy and repeatability for a linear axis, then it stays steady, or it should stay steady. For a Matsuura, if we quote a repeatability or accuracy for a linear axis, it's over the entire travel of the machine. I don't care if you move 2 inches or 20 inches, it stays steady. But the way we talk about repeatability and accuracy of a rotary axis is in arc seconds. So you take a degree, you divide it up in 60 arc minutes, you take each arc minute and divide it into 60 arc seconds. Now you've got many, many graduations for an entire 360 degrees. Our machine is plus or minus 2 arc seconds. The reason why that is an important part of 5-axis is because that accuracy is from center of rotation, and what happens is as you go farther away from the center of rotation, that error gets compounded. So while we have a machine that is very accurate, if you're looking at a machine, the farther away from the center of rotation that you are, the less accurate potentially it is. So it's very important that the machine is designed to be able to take advantage. You want the part to start as close to the center of rotation as possible, right? You don't want to have to put the part really high on a riser, so it's important to buy an appropriately sized machine. It's important to look at things like the spindle interference. You look at the spindle diameter, you look at how close you can get to that center of rotation. That's just going to inherently give you a better machine and a better finished product.
Absolutely, Dave. So we've kind of touched on precision. We've talked on multiple tools. We've talked about the flexibility of the pallet change, being able to have low batches and averages. Now,
Yeah.
we both know some really incredible customer testimonials that you have.
Sure,
One
sure.
of my favorites is that in 9 months' time, one of your customers was able to run the same amount of production hours and more parts in 9 months than they were able to do in the previous 5 years on their other machine. And in my opinion, that comes from the precision and having the ability to trust that when I put a part in, it's going to come out exactly like I expect it to, even though I'm not going to be there through the night.
Correct.
It's the trust of every piece that we've discussed while being here to know I'm going to put it into the machine, and we haven't even talked about complete yet and the
Right.
significance of complete.
Right, yeah, absolutely. You know, it's interesting because that same customer, while we talk about the best thing this machine can do is if I have repeat work, right? So if I have repeat work in the machine, then I store the pallet that's already been the design and built. I store the tools, I store the program, and then when I go to run that repeat job, I basically have 0 setup time, right? But this particular customer, they only run batch sizes of like 7 parts, right? So they said that they had been able to achieve that, right, in 9 months.
Yeah.
Of have more cutting time on that machine than on a non-palletized machine after 5 years. And so I was very curious as well how that was. And you know, and their comment was that when they build a part, when they build a first part, yes, the Matsuura is more accurate on the first part, but it still needs to go in and be inspected. And their inspection department was backed up at least a day. So normally, when that part went in for first article inspection, then the machine just sat. So now what they do with a palletized machine is they bring in another pallet and they start setting that pallet up, right? So now they're being efficient with their time. And when they're going to leave at the end of the day, what they do is they have another pallet that's set up with a repeat job. So now they run the part that's already gone through inspection and being approved for production, and they run it at night. So then they're achieving 90% efficiency in batch sizes of 7. It's amazing.
I absolutely value what you guys have brought to the table when it comes to this automation and been doing it for over 30 years, I believe, at this time, being, if not the first, one of the first. So over this time, you figured out some of the mistakes, and you look back and go, okay, this is how we got better. And I really appreciate you sharing this intelligence with me, with the global audience, and being such a great advocate for Matsuura as a whole.